In this video, I'm going to go over how to complete the square. Completing the square is used to solve quadratic equations when you cannot factor. If you don't see a way to use FOIL or the quadratic equation, you're going to have to complete the square. We're going to go through a basic problem and then afterwards we'll go through trickier problems. Our first equation is x squared minus 8x equals negative 5. This equation is not factorable even if you bring negative 5 to the other side, so you're going to have to complete the square. The first step of completing the square is to identify b in the ax squared plus bx plus c form, the standard quadratic form. So for this equation, b equals negative 8. Afterwards, to figure out what you're going to have to add on both sides to complete the square, you do b divided by 2 squared. So for this equation it will be negative 8 over 2 squared, which is equal to 16. So therefore you add 16 to both sides. X squared minus 8x plus 16 equals negative 5 plus 16, which is 11. Alright, so afterwards, in order to simplify x squared minus 8x plus 16, you can factor, but there's a much quicker way. So if you factor, your answer is going to come into the form of x minus b over 2 squared. So for this example, it will be x minus 8 over 2 squared, which is also x minus 4 squared. So then it will be x minus 4 squared equals 11. So now we're trying to find x. So therefore we would square root both sides. It will be x minus 4 equals plus or minus square root 11. The reason why it's plus or minus because you don't know whether it was positive or negative, because if you square a positive square root 11 and a negative square root 11, they're both going to come out as 11. So now you want to isolate x, and that will be x equals 4 plus or minus square root 11. Our second example is x squared plus 12x plus 8. To make it easier for ourselves, we're going to bring 8 to the other side. So it will be x squared plus 12x equals negative 8. So now we're going to want to identify b. And in this equation, b equals 12. And then we're going to do b over 2 squared to figure out what we're going to have to add on both sides. So that will be 12 over 2 squared, which is equal to 36. So you add 36 to both sides. X squared plus 12x plus 36 equals negative 8 plus 36, which is 28. Alright, so now you're going to want to do x plus b over 2 squared to simplify x squared plus 12x plus 36. The reason why is it's x plus b over 2 squared and not x minus b over 2 squared like the previous example is because b is positive in this example, while b was negative in the previous example. So for this equation, it will be x plus 12 over 2 squared, which is x plus 6 squared. So x plus 6 squared equals 28. So now you're going to want to solve for x. So you're going to square root both sides. X plus 6 equals square root 28, which can be simplified to 2 square root 7. Sorry, plus or minus 2 square root 7. Then it will be x equals negative 6 plus or minus 2 square root 7. Our third example is 4x squared plus 8x minus 9. So as the previous example, we're also going to bring minus 9 to the other side. So 4x squared plus 8x equals 9. Now in the first two examples, a in ax squared plus bx plus c equaled 1. But in this example, a does not equal 1. A equals 4. But luckily for us, 4 can simply be factored out of 4x squared plus 8x. So then it will be 4 times x squared plus 2x equals 9. So now again, we're going to complete the square for x squared plus 2x with b over 2 squared. So then it will be 2 over 2 squared, and that equals 1. So it will be 4 times x squared plus 2x plus 1. But instead of adding 1 to the other side, we're actually going to add 4. Because 1 times 4, so then it's 9 plus 4. So if this number was 5 for this example, it would have been 9 plus 5. So it will be 4 times x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals 13. So then we're going to want to simplify x squared plus 2x plus 1, and with x plus b over 2 squared, we're going to get 4 times x plus 1 squared equals 13. Alright, let me get more space. Okay, so then we're gonna divide by 4 on both sides, so it'll be x plus 1 squared equals 13 over 4. Then we square root both sides. X plus 1 equals plus or minus square root 13 over 2. And then to completely isolate x, it's going to be x equals negative 1 plus or minus square root 13 over 2. Our fourth example is 2x squared plus 7x minus 4. Now, like we did with our previous examples, we're going to want to bring negative 4 to the other side. So 2x squared plus 7x equals 4. In this example, a does not equal 1. A equals 2. So we're going to have to factor out 2. When we factor 2 out of 7, we're going to get 7 over 2. I highly recommend to write 7 over 2 as a fraction instead of a decimal, because it's going to be a lot easier to square fractions. Alright, so now we're going to complete the square. So b over 2 squared, which is equal to, in this scenario, 7 over 2 divided by 2 squared, which is 7 over 4 squared, and that's 49 over 16. Right, so then 2 times x squared plus 7 over 2x plus 49 over 16 equals 4 plus 49 over 16 times 2, which is 98 over 16 and can be simplified to 49 over 8. And then it will be 32 over 8 plus 49 over 8 equals 81 over 8. So then it will be 2 times x squared, plus 7, and then 49 over 16 equals 81 over 8. Alright, let me get some more space. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to want to, okay, so then we're going to divide 2 by both sides. So then we're going to get x squared plus 7 over 2x plus 49 over 16 equals 81 over 16. And then we're going to want to simplify x squared plus 7 over 2x plus 49 over 16. And that's by x minus b over 2 squared. So then it will be x plus b over 2 squared. So then it will be x plus 7 over 4 squared equals 81 over 16. Okay, so now we're going to want to solve for x. So then we would square root both sides. X plus 7 over 4 equals plus or minus 9 over 4. Okay, I'm gonna have to get more space. Okay, so now we can create two different equations to solve for x. So x plus 7 over 4 equals 9 over 4. Then x plus 7 over 4 equals negative 9 over 4. Alright, so then for this one it will be, you're going to want to subtract negative 7 over 4 on both sides. That will get you x equals 2 over 4, which equals 1/2. Alright, and now for the other equation, you're going to subtract negative 7 over 4 on both sides. That will get you x equals negative 16 over 4, which equals negative 4. You can also use the completing the square method to find the equation of a circle and its center and radius. Let's go over an example. So x squared plus y squared plus 10x minus 12y plus 45. So first things first, we're going to want to bring 45 to the other side. X squared plus y squared plus 10x minus 12y equals negative 45. So now we have x squared, 10x, y squared, and negative 12y. We're going to want to group them together. So x squared plus 10x, then plus y squared minus 12y. This is going to make it a lot more easier. Alright, so basically, you're just going to complete the square twice. Once for x and once for y. So for x, b over 2 squared would be 10 over 2 squared. So 10 over 2 is 5, and then 5 squared is 25. So x squared plus 10x plus 25. Remember, you're also going to add 25 to the other side. But first, let's do the y portion. So b over 2 squared is negative 12 over 2 squared, and that's 36. So plus y squared minus 12y plus 36 equals 45 plus 25 plus 36. Sorry, negative 45 plus 25 plus 36, which is 16. Alright. So now we're going to want to simplify both x squared plus 10x plus 25 and y squared minus 12y plus 36 with x plus b over 2 squared, and then with y minus b over 2 squared. So for x it will be x plus 5 squared plus y minus 6 squared equals 16. Alright. Well, this is an equation of a circle. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So now we can easily find the center and the radius of this circle. So the center is negative 5 and for the x value and 6 for the y value. And then the radius will be 4 because it's r squared equals 16, and the radius cannot have a negative value, so it's going to be 4.